Hi everyone, and I think we should be live, so I'm going to trust we're all up and running and kick off. Greetings for those new here. My name is Nicki. I'm an author and editor, and I post videos here on YouTube about writing, editing, reading, and all the other things I love. And it's the latter we're here for today because we're pretty much at the end of the month, so I thought it was time to tell you a bit about what I've been watching in terms of TV and film for October. Film-wise, I've still not been to the cinema. I haven't been to the cinema for about 3 months now, which is unusual for me. I do usually go a lot more regularly, but just to begin with, life was in the way. There were too many other things going on, and just the last couple of months, there's just not been anything I've been absolutely desperate to go and watch. So it looks like there are a few things coming out soon, though, so I probably will go definitely in December, even if I don't get there in November, but we'll see. I have, of course, been watching things at home, though, so I'm going to share those with you today. So first off, on SBS On Demand, I watched a French movie called Daguerrotype, and it is a historical mystery / spooky story. It's a little bit hard to classify in some ways, at least without spoiling it, which I'm trying to avoid doing. For me, this was an average watch. I'm not going to say too much because I don't want to spoiler it, but essentially there's a... I called it historical earlier. It's not really. There's historical elements to it in terms of the type of photography the guy's doing, but it's actually set in modern times. Sorry, that's a little bit confusing the way I described that. But a young man has gotten a new job as an assistant to a photographer, and this photographer prefers to work in the old medium, the daguerreotype medium. He's trying to recreate a lot of old images with his daughter, previously his wife and now his daughter, as the model, dressed up in Victorian era outfits and the like. And there's a bit of a sort of mystery and suspicious things going on. That's all I can say. It was an enjoyable enough film. It didn't grab me as much as I thought it would. From the description, it sounded like something I'd really love. And in the end, I watched it, but I was doing other things at the same time. I think I was making kanji flashcards for Japanese, actually, while watching a French movie. Yeah, I'm glad I saw it, but I wouldn't rush back to watch it again. So if you're looking for something that's sort of a bit of a spooky, without being all-out horror, then you might want to check it out. Next up on TV, I watched the final season of Poldark. So this is season 5 of Poldark. I've really loved this. I think it's been a great adaptation. Aidan Turner is absolutely awesome in the title role. For awesome, you can also read gorgeous, but he's brilliant. He's a great actor, looks aside. And I enjoyed this final season. I think it was a nice way to conclude it. I think it was the time to stop. They've all been good. It didn't feel like it was starting to drag or anything, but I think recognizing when it's time to end something is important before you lose your audience and you end up making a series that's not good. So it was great to go out on a real high with this one. So it's obviously a period drama set sort of late 18th, early 19th century in England, in Cornwall and London. And yeah, if period dramas are your sort of thing, do check out all 5 seasons of Poldark. Next up on Netflix, I watched a series and a film. So I'll do the film first. I watched the Netflix own live action adaptation of Bleach. So for those who don't know, Bleach is a manga anime, and I actually haven't read the manga, haven't seen the anime, so I roughly knew the vague story outline when I watched this movie. And I kind of watched this movie because I was wondering whether it was worth reading the manga and watching the anime. And I thought, well, if I like the story in the movie, then maybe it is. And I did enjoy it. I mean, I'm sure there are plenty of fans out there who, like with the Death Note movie, like it doesn't compare, but as someone coming to it fresh with no preconceptions, I found it enjoyable. I like the storyline. I like the premise. I thought the effects looked good. And it's definitely inspired me to want to go and check out some of the original material. So from that point of view, it was a really good and fun movie. Then going to anime, I watched seasons 1 and 2 of Psycho-Pass. This was a really interesting series. I adored season 1. I thought it was brilliant. I loved the concept. I thought it was really action-packed. There was a lot going on. I loved the characters. And then we hit season 2. And for me, season 2, I didn't hate it, but it didn't have that same magic as season 1. I think, we lost a couple of our characters. I'm just trying to think, is it Genso? His name's just gone out of my mind at the moment, but he was a character in season 1, really straight-laced guy. He kind of cuts loose a bit in season 2. I liked that, but I just felt that the storyline wasn't as compelling, perhaps, as the one in season 1, where you had that sort of battle between the two guys. And once you lost that, I didn't think season 2 worked quite as well. So absolutely, definitely watch season 1. And if you enjoyed season 1, go on and watch season 2. But I don't think it was as good as the first. I also watched a few things that I came across on YouTube. I should say all 3 of these are Black Butler transgressions, I guess you'd call it for me. Partly, mostly due to actors who have played Sebastian from Black Butler in live-action adaptations of Stage and Screen. So I watched a film on YouTube called The Girl Who Ran Through Time. And I watched this because Matsushita Yuya was in it. However, he really wasn't in it that much. He was only in a couple of scenes. And, actually, he sang a song on the soundtrack. I recognised his voice on one of the songs. But it's a film, again, I think it is based on a manga. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I believe so. About a girl who has a means of travelling back in time and ends up meeting her parents and various things. And again, I don't want to spoil the story too much by telling you too much about the plot. It was okay. It didn't completely grip me. I mean, obviously, I was watching on YouTube, so the quality wasn't 100% either. A little bit grainy by the time I put it up on the TV. I liked the idea, but I thought that the pacing in the film was a little bit slow. I kind of wanted things to move along a bit. A few times I was kind of like, come on, something happen. I'd be interested in seeing other versions. I think there is an animated film as well. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't really looked into it in any great detail yet. But I would definitely check out if there is a manga or the animated film and see how those compare. Because, as I said, I liked the idea of the story. I just think it didn't 100% work as the film. Sticking with YouTube stuff, but moving from Matsushita Yuya to Mizushi Mihiro, who played Sebastian in the live-action movie of Black Butler, and who I think is absolutely brilliant. And so I was trying to check out some of his older work. And I came across these 2 TV series from the mid-2000s, I think 2007, 2008, something like that. 2006, 7, I think. The first of these, Hana Kimi, which actually has a really, really long, complicated title, but people seem to just refer to it as Hana Kimi online, so I'm going to go with that so I don't have to say this whole title. If you search for that, you will find it. This is a story that, again, is it based on a manga? I think it is. And it's set in a high school, and a girl has become interested in, let's say, a high school high jump hero, if you like. However, due to an accident in which she was involved, he was hurt and stopped jumping. Even though he's now recovered, he's not started jumping again. He attends a really exclusive all-boys school where all the guys are super hot, and so she disguises herself as a boy in order to get into this school and to persuade him to take up high jump again. It sounds a bit stupid. It is a little bit silly at times, but it's silly in that really fun way. When something's kind of bad, but it's so bad it's good. It's one of those. So Mizushi Mihiro's character is dorm head of the dorm that she ends up in. And I thought this was good fun. It was about, 12 episodes long, and I found it enjoyable. I found it humorous. It is silly, as I said, but in that good fun way. It's a little bit crazy, but I would definitely recommend checking it out. It's super cute. So I don't want to say again too much. I don't want to spoil the story too much, but that's the premise anyway. And it's a little bit quirky and silly and fun. And the other one I watched, also with Mrs. Shimahiro, but this time in one of the more major roles, was Mei-chan No Shitsuji. Can't speak. Mei-chan No Shitsuji. Mei-chan's Butler. And this is another sort of slightly quirky, bizarre story. And again, I do believe it is based on a manga. And Mei is a girl who has grown up, I mean, not impoverished, but in a poorer working class situation. And upon her parents' deaths, she discovers that she's actually the heir to this major family fortune. And so her grandfather ships her off to this highly exclusive girls' school where all the girls are accompanied by their own really handsome butler. And Mrs. Shimahiro plays Mei-chan's butler. And it's, again, there's a lot of sort of school rivalries between the girls that don't want her there, that eventually will become friendships. There's a bit of a subplot with this other figure in the background who's obsessed with Mei's butler and is determined to get him for herself. And again, I'm trying not to like spoiler things too much, but I think there's about 10 episodes and I really enjoyed this. I mean, it's a bit like Hana Kimi. It's a little bit silly at times, but it's silly in a fun, enjoyable way, and you just have to go with the flow. Mr. Shimahiro looks absolutely gorgeous in his butler costume, so it's worth watching just for that alone, and I definitely recommend checking it out on YouTube. And finally, some DVDs that I bought. So first up, excuse me a second, I just need a quick little drink here. So first up, I got the 2 live-action movies of Death Note. These are the Japanese movie versions. So Death Note and Death Note: The Last Note. These were a bit of a mixed bag for me. I mean, I adore Death Note. And I kind of wonder, though, if maybe I adore it too much, because they had a few things changed. There were a few little bits that they tweaked between the manga, anime, and these live-action films. The most obvious being the way it ends. I'm going to do a quick spoiler, everyone. So if you haven't watched Death Note and you don't want it spoiled, just mute me until I do a thumbs up sign in a second, okay? So mute me now. Okay, so in the manga anime, L dies, and then we have a whole continuation of the story with Near and Mello taking over, particularly Near, the investigation, until eventually Near beats Light. However, when they do condensed versions for films or the musical, for example, TV series, they usually cut out most or, if not all, of the Near and Mello storyline, and they have L die and then Light dies shortly afterwards, which is an easy way for them to condense the story to fit into a film section. So they obviously do that in these films. They have to tweak things a little bit to make it work that way. So from that point of view, it's different from the manga anime. However, in other terms, it's essentially the same story that I've now seen 20 gazillion times. So I finished the spoilers, everyone. Come back. Okay, so if you're back with me, spoiler free now. As I was saying, they've tweaked a few things, particularly for the ending. But it is, in the most part, the story that we all know. So from that point of view, I mean, it tells the story well. There was nothing wrong with the performances as such. It felt a little bit kind of made for TV. I don't know if that's the best way to describe it. But, I mean, compared to Death Note, Light Up the New World, which was a more recent film which took the Death Note idea but created a whole new different story, I think that worked more successfully. Perhaps because it is all new material, and so it made it a bit more exciting. But it also had, I think, slightly better production values, maybe, if we can call it that. These films weren't awful. I enjoyed them. And as a huge Death Note fan, it was great to add them to my collection of all the adaptations. But they certainly were not my favourite versions of the story. Let's put it that way. I think that's a fair way to say it. If you were given the preference, I would watch the anime over these live action films. I think that's the gist of it, essentially. And finally, to end us off, Black Butler. So during October, I have been devouring Black Butler. I've been reading the manga, and I started that back the other month. And in October, I bought all the DVDs. So I got we've got season 1, season 2 of the anime, the season 3, if we call it season 3, but the Book of Circus anime, the Book of Murder ovas, 2 ovas, and the Book of Atlantic animated film, which came out, which is the most recent, came out a couple of years ago, I think. So I watched all of these in October in like a huge binge. Essentially, my husband was getting so fed up of Black Butler, I can't tell you, by the end. But I did watch them all. I really enjoyed them. I'm a huge fan of Black Butler since I discovered this one recently. The anime is interesting because it starts off close to the manga for a few episodes, but then the rest of season 1 and all of season 2 just completely does its own thing, which in some ways, I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, in some ways, I like the fact that the Death Note anime absolutely is the manga, like step for step. And there's some bits of the manga that I was like, oh, I really wish they'd done this bit of story in one of the series. But at the same time, the fact that they didn't and then they did their own storyline means that even if you've read the manga, you're still getting something fresh and new in the anime. And so from that side of things, that is really enjoyable and great. So I'm not going to talk too much about plots and things because I don't want to spoiler. The anime does cover the Jack the Ripper plot line early on in season 1. And obviously they do the Book of Circus, Book of Murder, and Book of Atlantic, which were 3 really popular arcs in the manga. But I think those were all done separately. I mean, I kind of think of them really as season 1 and 2, and then those 3 story arcs when I'm sort of thinking about them in my mind. Book of Circus I do adore. Book of Atlantic is brilliant fun. I mean, it's basically like zombies on a Titanic replacement ship kind of thing. Who wouldn't love that? Sebastian kicking zombie ass. And the Book of Murder with the sort of Sherlock Holmesy theme is brilliant too. So I adore them. I watch them in the Japanese audio with subtitles because I prefer the voice actors, majorly prefer the voice actors from the Japanese version. Daisuke Ono is way better than, is it Michael J. Tatum, I think, something like that, who played him in the American dubbing. But yes, I mean, I adore them. I could waffle on for hours and days and months about Black Butler and Death Note, but I will kind of bring things to a close. I've really loved them anyway, and I'm going to be watching them, of course, at some point as well, once I can get my husband over his like ban that's almost currently going on, where he's about to ban me from anything Black Butler, I think. I have been watching the musicals and various other adaptations and things of Death Note and Black Butler too. And I mean, on that note, I have been wondering whether to do some vlogs, one for Black Butler, one for Death Note, in which I talk about all the different versions, because both of them do have so many different versions, live action films, anime, manga, musicals, drama CDs, all sorts. And I have been trying to get most of them. I just bought myself all the Black Butler manga. I've got the final, well, I'll say the final book coming in the post like any day now, but it's the final book that's currently released, I should say, because it's obviously still an ongoing series. But so I am pretty much up to date with that now. So I wondered if that would interest people, though. So if it does, put me a comment below and tell me if you'd like me to do that, and I'll do a vlog on each, one for Death Note, one for Black Butler, in which I talk about all the different versions and what I think are the merits and pros and cons, if you like, of the different adaptations of the stories. I will end there for now for my TV and film watching vlog. But if you come back in, probably give me about 15 minutes or so, I'm going to be back, 15-20 minutes, I'll be back to do my book wrap-up for October as well. So I really hope you'll join me for that. I've got about 20 odd books to discuss with you all, and I look forward to sharing those in a few minutes. And I will end there for this vlog for now. But thanks for your attention, everyone, and I will see you again at the end of next month for another of these TV and film wrap-ups. Bye for now.